the long-running hit series Mountain Men has just released a groundbreaking announcement that has sent shockwaves through the wilderness community and left loyal fans both emotional and anxious. After years of watching him defy nature's harshest challenges, many fans and even members of his family can no longer hide their concern. Questions are rising: will he survive this chapter? What if it doesn't end well for him? Known for his iron will, rugged independence, and decades of self-reliant living, Tom Oar's latest revelation marks a deeply personal and career-defining moment. This new chapter feels like the closing of an era, an emotional turning point for one of television's most beloved outdoorsmen. As the wilderness seems to whisper goodbye, a new generation must now prepare to follow in the footsteps of a living legend. After all, quitting something you love deeply is never easy. For Tom, life in the Yaak Valley of Montana wasn't just an adventure, it was home for more than 40 years. The towering pines, icy rivers, and snow-covered ridges became part of his identity. At 82 years old in 2025, Tom still lives in his hand-built log cabin, a place that holds nearly half a century of memories. But lately, something feels different. In a recent episode of Mountain Men, viewers watched as Tom stepped out of his cabin wearing his familiar weathered hat, heavy coat, and worn boots. For a brief moment, he stood quietly, gazing at the forest that had defined his life. His once strong hands trembled slightly as he handled his tools, and the energy that used to carry him through brutal winters now seemed to fade with every movement. His steps were slower, his body frilier, but his determination burned as bright as ever. This was his 48th trapping season, and though he didn't say it aloud, fans could sense it might be his last. When the new season aired, the internet erupted. Fans, family, and fellow survivalists had mixed emotions. While viewers were thrilled to see their favorite mountain man back on screen, others expressed genuine worry. Was it really worth it to continue pushing his body to the limit? Many admired his resilience and courage but quietly hoped he would finally rest. Insiders even reported that Tom's decision to return for another season had sparked concern within his family. They had always seen him as the unbreakable figure who belonged to the wild, but even the strongest must one day slow down. For more than a decade, fans have watched Tom brave Montana's unforgiving winters, trapping, tanning hides, and living entirely off-grid with his devoted wife, Nancy. Together, they created a life few could imagine: no electricity, no grocery store, just skill, grit, and love. But on August 4, 2025, the History Channel made it official: Season 14 would be Tom Oar's final season on Mountain Men. The news struck viewers hard. Could the show even continue without him? In a teaser for the season, Tom uttered a sentence that resonated deeply: "It's hard to quit anything that you really like to do." That single line carried the weight of his entire journey, a man torn between passion and the inevitable reality of aging. As the season unfolded, Tom prepared for another brutal winter. He packed his traps, sharpened his knives, and checked the weather as he always did, but this time, everything took more effort. His movements were slower, his breathing heavier. Nancy, his faithful partner, looked on with visible worry. Should he still be doing this at 82? She likely asked herself that question countless times, yet she knew how deeply his soul was tied to the wilderness. While walking his trap lines, Tom reflected on the passage of time and the dangers of isolation. How many more winters can I do this? He wondered aloud, staring across a frozen river. That question echoed in the hearts of fans everywhere: when does one stop chasing the life that defines them? Still, Tom persevered. In Episode 3, he embarked on his 48th trapping season, a milestone that few could ever dream of. But it wasn't the same. His once vibrant face looked pale, and each step carried the weight of a lifetime. Fans watching knew they were witnessing the end of something special, the last time Tom would walk those trails as the cameras rolled. Meanwhile, other cast members thrived. Younger survivalists like Chance and Sura Painter worked hard to build their new lives in Alaska, representing a new generation full of energy and hope. In contrast, Tom and Nancy spent quiet evenings reminiscing by the fire. They talked about the early days in Montana, the lean winters, the joy of survival, and the satisfaction of a life built by their own hands. Yet Nancy's worries grew stronger, not only for the dangers of the wilderness but also for Tom's health. Fans will remember that Tom has battled heart problems for several years. In 2022, during season 11, he suffered a frightening health scare. One night, he woke up struggling to breathe, prompting Nancy to rush him 80 miles to the nearest clinic. Doctors discovered his heart wasn't pumping properly, causing fluid to build up in his lungs. They prescribed medication and fitted him with a heart monitor and defibrillator vest. Living so remotely, however, meant that medical help was always far away, and every season since then has carried greater risk. His condition forced him to slow down. Nancy took on heavier tasks like chopping wood and tending traps, while Tom rested more often. Rumors later surfaced that the couple temporarily moved to Florida to recover, staying with family before returning to the mountains. Then in 2024, word spread again that Tom had been hospitalized for heart complications, sparking false reports of his death online. Thankfully, his reappearance in the latest episodes proved those rumors wrong. Despite his strength and resilience, age and health have finally caught up with him. Tom's daughter, Keely, passed away in 2015 at age 49, a tragedy that left an emotional scar he never fully healed from. His son, Chad, lives far away, visiting occasionally, but distance has made family life harder. The isolation, combined with physical decline, has taken its toll on both Tom and Nancy. After so many years of giving his all, Tom knows it's time to rest. In one of the season's most touching moments, he sits quietly with Nancy beside the fire. "Maybe this is the last season," he says softly. "Maybe it's time." She nods in understanding, and together they share a peaceful silence filled with love and acceptance. In the final scene, Tom steps outside into the fading light, gazing across the land that shaped his life, the rivers, the trees, the mountains. "I may not be on the show anymore," he says, "but I'll always be a mountain man." Then he disappears into the woods, leaving behind a legacy that will never fade. Though the show may move on with younger faces, Tom Oar's story will forever be the heart of mountain men. His departure isn't just an end, it's a reminder that true wilderness doesn't live on television screens, but in the spirit of those who dare to live freely. Even as his body slows, his soul remains bound to the mountains he calls home, a man born, as he once said, 100 years too late, or maybe 200. This passage beautifully captures the remarkable life journey of Tom Oar, a man whose strength, skill, and determination defined his years in both the rodeo and the wilderness. It shows just how deeply he valued the life he chose, one rooted in simplicity, hard work, and connection to nature. Yet, as with all things, time eventually catches up. Age has a way of humbling even the strongest, and Tom knew that his physical strength would not last forever. Recognizing this truth, he made the difficult but wise decision to slow down and preserve his remaining energy for his loved ones. After years of braving harsh winters, surviving the wilderness, and living off the land, both Tom and the Mountain Men production team understood it was the right time for him to step away from the show and focus on his well-being. But that decision invites an important question: what exactly was Tom's journey like on Mountain Men? How did he even join the show and earn the admiration of millions of viewers? Has he always lived this rugged wilderness lifestyle, or was there a deeper story behind it? Let's go back to the very beginning, from rodeo boy to the wilderness man. From his earliest days, Tom Oar's life was tied to the open land and animals. Born in Illinois in 1943, he grew up surrounded by nature, vast fields, rivers, and forests that shaped his adventurous spirit. His father, Chick Oar, had once performed in Wild West-style shows, and that connection to horses and frontier life left a deep impression on young Tom. Alongside his older brother Jack, Tom learned to ride horses, care for animals, and work outdoors from an early age. By his mid-teens, around 15, Tom had already begun competing in rodeos, mastering the art of riding bucking horses in bulls, a dangerous but thrilling sport known as bronco riding. He joined organizations like the International Rodeo Association, IRA, and spent years traveling, competing, and building a name for himself. However, the rodeo life was not without danger. In the 1970s, tragedy struck when Tom's rope got tangled on a bull named Woolly Bugger, a notoriously aggressive animal. As soon as the gate opened, the bull bolted, dragging Tom violently. His hand was caught, and before he could free himself, the bull's hind legs crushed his legs. He lost consciousness and suffered multiple serious injuries, including a concussion and internal trauma. It took hours before he regained consciousness, and even then, his body was severely battered. Remarkably, Tom later joked that he might have given the bull a concussion too, a sign of his humor even in hardship. Although he recovered slowly, that accident marked a turning point in his life. After about a month, Tom returned to the rodeo circuit, but he realized that his body was not the same. The years of injuries and exhaustion began to take their toll. By 1981, now in his early 40s, Tom decided to retire from the rodeo world. While the sport had given him unforgettable memories, it had also left scars, both physical and emotional. Yet, even during his rodeo days, Tom had been fascinated by traditional crafts. He loved making moccasins, tanning hides, and learning ancient methods of working with leather. During a trip to Canada, he discovered the process of brain tanning, using animal brains instead of chemicals, which produced a soft, natural leather. This ancient technique appealed to him deeply, and he continued to perfect it over the years. After leaving the rodeo, Tom sought a new kind of life, one that offered peace, independence, and a deeper bond with nature. With his new wife Nancy, he made a bold decision to move away from the modern world entirely. They settled in Yaak Valley, northwest Montana, near the Kootenai National Forest, a remote, rugged area known for its wild rivers, dense forests, and long, brutal winters. They built their first log home by hand and later constructed the log cabin they still live in today, far removed from the conveniences of city life. Living in Yaak was not easy. Winters were harsh, food had to be hunted and preserved, and firewood had to be stocked months in advance. Every tool mattered, and Tom repaired everything himself. In the wilderness, Tom continued to refine his tanning craft, creating moccasins and hides using traditional methods. He sold them at rendezvous events and through word-of-mouth orders, earning just enough to get by. He also trapped animals, tracked predators, hunted deer and elk, and fished for survival. This self-sufficient life became his everyday reality until fate brought television cameras to his doorstep. In 2012, when the History Channel launched Mountain Men, producers were looking for authentic survivalists living off the grid, and Tom Oar fit that description perfectly. A neighbor recommended him, but when the producers sent a letter, Tom initially ignored it. He had no interest in fame or television. However, after some persuasion, he agreed to participate. Once filming began, the cameras captured Tom's everyday struggles, cutting firewood, trapping animals, tanning hides, and preparing for Montana's unforgiving winters. Viewers were captivated by his quiet strength, patience, and humility. Throughout Mountain Men's early seasons, Tom faced countless challenges, from wildfires threatening his cabin to bears and wolves raiding his supplies. His wife Nancy was always by his side, tanning hides, maintaining their home, and providing moral support. Their loyal dog Ellie appeared frequently, helping alert Tom to danger. Family remained central to his life. His son Chad and late daughter Keely visited often, worried about their parents' safety but deeply proud of their resilience. Sadly, Keely passed away in 2015, a loss that deeply affected Tom. Despite modest income, often less than $20,000 a year, Tom never measured life in money. His joy came from his work, his family, and his bond with the wild. While Mountain Men gave him a wider audience and helped boost sales of his handmade crafts, it also brought new challenges like loss of privacy and production disruptions. Yet, through it all, Tom stayed true to himself, the same humble, hard-working man viewers first met in Season 1. Even as his health declined in 2022, Tom showed resilience and returned to the wilderness life he loved. For him, the cameras were never the focus, they were just a passing chapter in a lifelong adventure. Now, at 82 years old, Tom Oar has officially retired, closing an extraordinary chapter of self-reliance, courage, and wisdom. From his early rodeo days to his final years on Mountain Men, Tom's story reflects a rare kind of strength, one born from simplicity, hard work, and an unshakable connection to nature. He lived life on his own terms, far from luxury and fame, proving that true wealth lies not in possessions but in peace of mind and purpose. Tom Oar's journey is more than just a tale of survival, it's a testament to human resilience and the power of living authentically. He never chased luxury, fame, or recognition, his only goal was to live a life that felt real and meaningful. For Tom, happiness didn't come from material possessions or city comforts. It came from waking up to the sound of nature, working with his hands, providing for himself and his family, and respecting the land that gave him everything he needed. Even when mountain men made him a television personality, Tom remained remarkably humble. Unlike many reality TV stars, he didn't change his lifestyle or try to capitalize on fame. His attitude toward life stayed exactly the same, honest, hardworking, and grounded. Fans admired how genuine he was, both on and off camera. He didn't act for the show, he simply lived as he always had. That authenticity became his trademark and what made him stand out among all the other cast members. Throughout his time on the series, audiences witnessed not only Tom's unmatched skills but also his unwavering dedication to his wife, Nancy. Their bond became one of the most touching aspects of the show. They worked side by side through every season, facing snowstorms, food shortages, and wildlife dangers together. The love and teamwork between them symbolized the beauty of partnership in its purest form, one built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. Even in the harshest winters, when temperatures dropped below zero and the days were long and dark, Tom and Nancy kept each other going. As Tom aged, it became clear that his physical strength wasn't what it once was. The wilderness demands constant work, chopping wood, maintaining traps, repairing tools, and walking long distances through snow and ice. But Tom faced every challenge with patience and grace. When his health began to decline, fans feared it might finally be time for him to step back. And though he recovered and returned stronger than expected, the years had clearly taken their toll. He knew it was time to slow down, to enjoy peace after decades of hard living. His decision to retire wasn't made out of weakness but wisdom. After spending most of his life enduring the elements, surviving close calls, and pushing his limits, Tom wanted to preserve his remaining strength for his loved ones. He had proven everything he needed to prove, to himself, to nature, and to anyone who ever doubted his way of life. For him, stepping away was not the end but the natural next chapter. What makes Tom's story truly powerful is that it shows how fulfillment doesn't always come from chasing more, sometimes, it comes from embracing less. He lived with almost nothing by modern standards, no steady electricity, no internet, no luxuries. Yet he had everything that mattered, purpose, peace, and a connection to something far greater than himself. In today's world, where people often measure success by wealth or status, Tom Oar stood as a living reminder that a meaningful life is one rooted in simplicity and self-reliance. Even in retirement, Tom's legacy continues. Fans still talk about his legendary craftsmanship, the beautifully tanned hides, the handmade moccasins, and his unmatched knowledge of the old ways. Younger generations who watch mountain men see him as a symbol of endurance, patience, and respect for the natural world. His story inspires people to appreciate the outdoors, to learn traditional skills, and to slow down and live with intention. Behind his rugged exterior, Tom has always been deeply kind and humble. He never sought attention or praise, yet his quiet strength earned him admiration from viewers all over the world. Those who met him describe him as polite, soft-spoken, and wise, a man who prefers listening over talking and doing over showing. Though his time on Mountain Men has come to an end, Tom Oar's influence will endure for years to come. He represents the spirit of a true mountain man, tough, loyal, resourceful, and deeply connected to the wild. His story is not just about surviving but about thriving in harmony with nature. And as he enjoys his well-earned rest with Nancy by his side, fans everywhere will continue to celebrate the man who turned a simple wilderness life into a lasting legend. So, as we reflect on his incredible journey, from his early rodeo days in Illinois to his decades in the Montana wilderness, Tom Oar's life reminds us of something essential, that peace doesn't come from running faster, but from standing still in the place that feels like home.